What does it mean to forget? To ignore? To abandon? To neglect? When something is not thought about, does it mean there's no significance? No importance? As humans, we forget things every day. But in Canada, today is devoted to remembering. Remembering the battles of the soldiers and all their sacrifices. Remembering the people who lost loved ones, the people who got stuck in the war zone, the people who escaped, the children that were left without a parent, or even a parent that lost their child. However, how do we remember when it's so easy to forget? Why should we care about people we didn't even know? Almost a century ago, thousands of wives were left without husbands. But why should we use today to remember them?
There came a sudden loud clattering at the front door knocker that always meant a telegram. For a moment, I thought that my legs might not carry me, but they behaved quite normally as I got up and went to the door. I knew it was in the telegram. I had known for weeks, but because the persistent hopefulness of the human heart refuses to allow intuitive certainty to persuade the reason of that which it knows, I opened it and read it in a tearing anguish of suspense. Regret to inform you, Lieutenant R.A. Layton, killed in action, France, December 23rd, 1915. No answer, I told the boy mechanically and handed the telegram to my father who had followed me down the hall. Perhaps someday the sun will shine again, and I shall see that still the skies are blue, and feel once more I do not live in vain, although bereft of you. Perhaps the golden meadows at my feet shall make the sunny hours of spring seem gay, and I shall find the white May blossoms sweet, though you have passed away. Perhaps the summer meadows will shimmer bright, and crimson roses once again seem fair, and autumn harvest feel to rich delight, although you are not there. But though kind time may many joys renew, there is one greatest joy I shall never know again, because my heart, for loss of you, was broken long ago.
Can you think of a time where you felt alone, where you craved the attention of one specific person, only to feel like you were left out in the cold? In World War I, over 650,000 people served, and over 66,000 never returned. Think about all the people that were left alone, knowing the one person they needed were never coming back. They were completely alone, and they can't be forgotten. Despite the desire to ignore, we must remember the pain and the loss. Millions of people were tortured for years during the Holocaust. But now that that's over, why must we relive that nightmare? Why remember when it's so much easier to forget?
Our transfer to Auschwitz began, a terrible and inhumane journey. Among my most disturbing memories, the most horrid would be when my mother gave the German soldiers her favor in exchange for half a glass of water. Half a glass. When we arrived at our tragic fate, hell, I was only 16, yet I can still remember the painful screams that echo in my ears. Upon our arrival, we were separated by women and men. They took the women directly to the gas chambers and then the crematorium. My mother and sister were among them. What pain to see them taken to that place, never to return again. The other group was taken directly to the gas chambers. The crematorium smoke could be seen for miles around. Upon our arrival, there were approximately 6,000 people, but only 200 remained to enter Auschwitz.
Mass murder is unacceptable in society, and for good reason. During World War II, millions of lives were taken without logical reason. Forgetting about this extreme loss is almost as inhumane as the act itself. In a time of great loss, the one thing that could hold society together is hope. Through what could only be deemed the worst of times, we must remember the hope that could have well saved mankind.
Dear sweetheart, we visited St. Paul's Cathedral today and were astonished to see that it hadn't been hit by bombs. Hitler's playboys really tried to get at it, and every building surrounding it for blocks was in complete ruin. The way it looks now, Hitler is going to fight until the very last German. I can't understand how a few men can have such control over a country when the majority know they're fighting for a lost cause, such useless loss of life and limb. I'm praying for a day when I can return to you. I think of you constantly and long for a day of our reunion. I've left these matters up to God, but I have a very definite feeling of assurance in the matter. The only uncertainty I have is the length of time I may be away, but rest assured that the next time I am home, it should be for good. The most important thing I want you to remember is that I love you with all my heart, and this love will never alter no matter how long I am away. I'm never really living or feel complete unless you are with me. Although dreams have their charms, I'll always long to say goodnight in your arms. Yours, David.
The feeling of missing someone is extreme. You're forced to put everything you've got into the everlasting hope inside of you. Without that hope, there's nothing worth fighting for. We must remember the love-inspired hope that became society worldwide in a time of crisis. Can you think of a world without love? A world without hope? How could we forget? The struggles people endure across the globe give us something to remember. Survivors live to tell their story. You just have to listen. When you're asked to think about war, most people remember the battles and the physical loss. It's very rare that someone would immediately think of one of the worst kinds of damage, the damage to the mind. Post-traumatic stress disorder is a very real problem that affects the soldiers and the people around them. Understanding the harm these people suffer means understanding the cause, the battles, the sacrifices, and the fear that created this mental scarring.
We left for Afghanistan on the 13th of May, my daughter's birthday. My platoon lived in a small burnt-out schoolhouse south side of the village of Nakone. Although we encountered the almost daily harassment of small firearms, the peppering of bullets hitting the wall on the other side of our bed spaces was comforting. Our bunk spaces were no larger than the military-issued aluminum folding cots, and thank goodness for the bug tents, just large enough to fit you and your sleeping bag. Definitely essential to keeping the swarms of insects, camel spiders, and scorpions out, but we got used to them too. You'd find them in your clothes, your boots, or on the floor and scatter in the night when you turned your light on. But again, I say I was comfortable. I was more comfortable getting into a gunfight with my fellow soldiers by my side than I was searching for improvised explosive devices. Think about it. You can see someone shooting. You can hear the crack, the whiz as it sails by. An IED is a weapon used by cowards, which is what makes it so scary. It's amazing how the mind and body work. I was more comfortable ignoring the heat physically, yet mentally I was more concerned for the welfare of my peers and fellow soldiers. And I'm sure I can speak for the others and say that the rest of the camp felt the same way. And at the end of the day, I rested knowing that my woman and my daughter were back home safe. And that even one family in Nakone would be safer from the tyranny and oppression of one less fighter because of our bravery.
The human tendency is to forget the bad and cherish only the good. However, the good is only achieved because of the seeming bad. Forgetting might be just the thing that stops us from moving forward. November 11th is the day Canadians use to remember. Today is the day to think, recognize, and connect to the past. Remember the people who were left alone, the people who were tortured, the people who kept the hope. Remember the people who survived, the people who didn't. Remember the scars and the wounds of the people that will never be the same. Remember the battles and the sacrifices of the soldiers.
I remember those who were left alone and heartbroken after World War I.
I remember the 11 million who died in the Holocaust.
I remember those who kept the hope during World War II.
I remember those who felt like they lost everything.
I remember those who suffer from post-traumatic stress disorder.
I remember those who fought in Afghanistan and who are fighting for us today.
We remember.
Do you remember?
In Flanders fields, the poppies blow, between the crosses row on row that mark our place. And in the sky the larks, still bravely singing, fly, scarce heard amid the guns below. We are the dead. Short days ago we lived, felt dawn, saw sunset glow, loved and were loved, and now we lie in Flanders fields. Take up our quarrel with the foe. To you from failing hands we throw the torch. Be yours to hold it high. If ye break faith with us who die, we shall not sleep, though poppies grow in Flanders fields.